Hi, my name's Lindy and welcome to my channel. I am going to leap straight into the video today being the 7th of August 2021. Usually I faff about with a title that comes to me quite spontaneously, but I'm not going to waste time with that. I'm going to leap in and I'll decide what the title will be once I've done the video. So first, I hope that everybody is doing okay and moving your way through the current world events, which continue to unfold at speed at the moment and will continue to unfold at speed for a while yet. So as you know, those of you that have been with the channel for a very long time, I speak purely and totally from experience, and it is an experiential channel in that sense. So I may, let's say, channel the information through me and from the heart, but it is all based on experience. So I'm going to talk about some of the input and experience that I've been getting of late. So I don't feel there's any coincidence that I'm drawn to bring this video out today. As you would have noticed, I've not been up on YouTube as much as I have been in the past years. There's a few reasons for that, a few of which I can't go into, to do with working with energy, which I can go into at a later date. And the other reasons are I will only come up here if I feel really drawn to get up here and share. So what I'd like to talk about again is there's no coincidence that it's coming out today. 8/8 being just a few hours away, 8/8/21, which is known as the Lion's Gate kind of doorway or portal. It's quite apt, really. I'm a Leo myself and very much have an affinity or a link, let's say, with the lion being civilizations, and apart from others, but that's the main one. So there's probably no coincidence to that either. So what I'm going to talk about really touches on parallel dimensions. It also touches on the inversion, which is plainly obvious across the world at the moment, and what is happening to that inversion. So because they're all interlinked. So let's start from the beginning. Speaking experientially, as you become a more multidimensional soul, a more multidimensional being, as the word implies, you are able to access more multiple aspects of your own creative possibilities, your own consciousness, your own complete record of who you are. That is past, present and future, which is all happening in this moment. That is also what you would think of as parallel dimensions, all running at the same time, and all this is totally interlinked. Past, present and future happening now, parallel dimensions happening now. It's all happening now. But as you go up through the rungs of consciousness in your own heart portal, as you open up more, you will find that you're able to access more of these, I'm going to say abilities, but it's who you are. It's like opening a treasure chest and then finding more things in it that you didn't know were even there automatically. So let me give you a simple example of this. And like I say, I often use myself as an example because it is an experiential channel. So it's like going away for a few days and then you come back to where you live and everything looks the same, but it doesn't feel quite the same. And then you start to notice subtle things, like when you left the property a few days before, the garden was teeming with wildlife, multiple different forms of birds, squirrels, teeming with wildlife, the sound of birds singing all the time, butterflies, bees, just teeming. And then you come back and everything again looks the same. Everything seems to be the same, but you get this distinct feeling it's not the same. You go out to your garden, no sound. No sound of the 16 or 17 different species of birds that were in there 48 hours ago. No sign of any squirrels, any mice, any butterflies, any insects, any bees. Not only the absence of them, but the complete absence of the sound. You don't realise how much sound birds make. If you live in the countryside, you're so used to it in the background all the time, like hearing a river running, like hearing a river flowing, that sound being absent, completely absent, surreal. Like, what happened? What happened here? You sit down where you would normally always sit down. Again, it looks the same, feels slightly different. Because you sit in a chair that you sit in 99% of the time, you're aware of your alignment with other buildings, trees outside, nature outside. You're aware that where you sit and where you're lined up at, you're aware with exactly what you can see from that alignment. So if you can see across the way, across the grass and across where a small field is, and where a tree is, and then where a property that mirrors yours is, you're aware that where that window frame comes, how much of the window you can see of that property and how much you can't. So you sit there in the chair that you've sat in for maybe 3 years, and that window that you look across all the time isn't in the same place. It's moved that way. So the window that you could see all of 48 hours ago can only see half of now. It's like going away for 48 hours and you come back and your white door is now a red door, or your red door is now a blue door. And there are subtle differences. As you know, this isn't a story, and I'm speaking from experience, experientially. So when this happened 2 weeks ago, it was really the most strange, surreal thing. It's like, what happened? I was only away for 2 days. What happened in that time? How has everything moved a little bit? Not in the same alignment as it was, and it had. And it's the most surreal thing. And it took me a while, because that's why it's experiential. I'm not just channeling it through, then learning about it later. I'm doing it first, then sharing it. Took me a while to work out what was going on, and I realized it was a parallel reality that somehow I had moved into in the 48 hours that I was away from this one. Now, the way I'd like to explain it is it could be my attachment to this one, or our attachment to any of the realities we're in. We're aware of the main reality that we're in. And our attachment to that, whether it's a reality that we're thriving in and loving, or a reality that we're not thriving in at all, but there is an attachment, there's emotional loop and feedback going into that. And it seems to me that coming away from this place and then coming back into it moved my attachment to that reality, my emotional looping or charge, and brought me into another one. And it's the most bizarre thing ever. And the way I see it psychically, the way I see it clairvoyantly, the way I see it from the channeling and from the heart, is like there were these old-fashioned fiber optic lamps. You can still get them. I think they're considered to be quite retro now. I might be wrong on that, but they, when you switch them on, they have multiple, they're like fiber optics, multiple, and they kind of light up in all different colors. And the way I see it is we are almost like, in our consciousness, there are multiple, infinite numbers of these fiber optics, all going at the same time, and we're still that one lamp. It's still our lamp. We're still that one lamp, but that we could be on one of those little fiber optics from that lamp. All of our life, all of this life that we're aware of, this reality. But now, as we're becoming more multidimensional, and we're accessing much more of our mastery, much more of our totality, much more of who we are that we haven't been able to access. It seems to me that you can go to sleep on one fiber optic, wake up on the other fiber optic, go away on a vacation for 2 days, come back, you're on a different fiber optic. As easy as that. It's quite extraordinary. Now you could say to me, are there major differences in those fiber optics from the one lamp? Are there major differences and major different outcomes? What I'm going to say to you is, so far what I've encountered and what I've discovered is there seem to be subtle differences, but I personally feel that when you're conscious of it, you can make major differences because we're largely unconscious of it. If you're consciously in a reality that you had a white door, you had your garden a certain way, you had a view from the front, and then the view is slightly different, the door slightly different, the garden slightly different. These are all largely unconscious, and unless you're really clued in and super noticing everything, super sensitive, you might not even notice those changes. But if you notice them and you're conscious of them, if there can be those little changes like that unconsciously, shall we say, they're all running concurrently, or they're all running at the same time. It's all fiber optics from the same lamp. Once you're aware of it, you can consciously make some conscious changes. It's all about how conscious you are, because then you can start having some direct input rather than indirect, rather than unconscious. It's quite an extraordinary thing. So my answer to that question would be, it largely depends, the differences you can make, on how conscious you are. It is an amazing thing. Looped with this awareness has also come the awareness of the inversion on this planet. So I've been aware of the inverted nature and the inverted programming on this planet for a very long time now. Probably about 26 years. But I'm talking about the awareness in a different way. It's different. There is a change happening here. And that change is a really, really good, positive change. I know for many of you, it doesn't feel like it, because I know a lot of you are going through a lot of stuff at the moment. There's not only a lot of stuff that you're processing, but you're coping with, you know, a very dystopian, inverted rollout of an agenda that's been pumping out now since, full on, since the end of 2019, really. That time is coming to an end. It's changing, but it's not overnight. Things are moving as quickly as they can, but that time is coming to an end. Part of that time coming to an end is the realization, the mass realization, that we have largely been living on an inverted earth, an inverted planet, an inverted reality. And I don't mean, let me clarify what I mean there so you don't misunderstand me. It's not by accident, it's been deliberate. And it's not really, when I said an inverted earth, I mean that it's affecting the whole, all of us on the planet. Not that the actual earth is inverted, the actual organic planet herself. It's been designed since the interference and the fall of Atlantis, which was the same energies behind that fall. It's been designed since then to do, and the easiest way, I haven't got an object, I looked around for something I could show and demonstrate this with, and I thought I'm going to have to use my hands. So let's use this as the inversion. It's, instead of doing this, it's been doing this. Everything's been inverted. But this, for the first time since Atlantis and Lemurian interference, is going to be doing this again. This, which was forced to do this down, is going to be doing this again. So it's like consciousness, reality being turned inside out, and now it's going to ping back out the right way again. Rather like a chalice being buried in the ground, it's going to ping back up and open up again. This is very relevant to the time that we're in at the moment, and the 8-8 and the acceleration of things from here on in. When I say programmed inverted reality, I mean it in every single way, within language, within codes, within the programming that one is surrounded by all the time. I mean everywhere and in pretty much everything. Very little place is untouched by it. And it's one thing to know it in the background. I've known this kind of thing for 26 years, but to actually have a realization on it and a knowing on it firsthand, and to feel it in the collective energy, and to feel what it's about to do from this to this, is amazing. What I would say to many of you, as many of you that are really going through it at the moment, are really being affected by that inverted reality that we've been swimming in like a soup for a very long time. That inverted reality not just seems to, but this is, you know, factual. This is what happens, sort of rewards those that are non-compassionate, non-loving, and allows some of the most notorious, incredibly dark energies to get away with everything. to the most extreme, awful things you can imagine. And when you look at it across the board, all the way through society and civilization, it's a repeating pattern over and over again that's been going on for, well, since the interference and the fall of Atlantis, which of course we have within our DNA, if you like, we have within our consciousness, whether we were actually there or we are connected to the overall consciousness that was there. So it's quite an extraordinary time when, for the first time since then, this is going to do this, and the inversion is being popped the right way out again. It's coming back to the right way round. I really feel that that is also to do with the paralleling and the paralleling dimensions. It's one accessing one's own multidimensionality, but also one sensing in every part of their consciousness and DNA, every part of their energy, that the inversion that their lives have been programmed with, no matter how spiritual or how of the heart somebody is, their life might have been entirely programmed, and in, you know, they've been living in an inverted world. It is like a massive rebalancing going on, really, like I would say a massive rebalance. You could say a massive rebirth, but it is a massive rebalancing, reawakening, rebirth, inside out, being turned the right way up. Of course, virtually none of us would have realized we've lived our whole life inside out, upside down. It's not just random programming out there, it's in everything. It's been in everything. For that to be coming to an end and to be changing is quite phenomenal in itself. And you know, I've noticed myself these changes starting to happen, and we are going to see more and more changes as this inversion comes to a close. As it kind of not even just swings the other way, it's going to the reality that it always was meant to be, and it's going to the reality that it was before there was interference and the collapse and the wiping the slate clean with Atlantis. We're going back to this way, this way, this way, instead of this way. It's all being turned the right way up again. People have different words for this. Some of those words I don't align with because I'm acutely aware of cult-like programming around it and all sorts of things. So there are some of those words you won't hear me saying, whether it makes me less popular or less fashionable. I won't use them. But let's say we are coming into the new energy. The new energy has been something I've been talking about on my YouTube channel for 5 or 6 years now. I'm building to it for a long time, and this is the worldwide, earth-wide, physical, because we're very good at the woo-woo and the metaphysical, physical, boots on the ground as a human being, physical change and physical reality to back that up. No longer inverted. What's a simple way of explaining this? A simple way of explaining it is those that have been getting away with the most diabolical things against humanity to create mass enslavement, to create mass pain and suffering, because this is what those energies gobble up and eat. Their time will begin to come to an end. Some could say it's already begun to come to an end, and I would agree with that so far, in as much as there has been a change in the energy in 2021, and there has been a weakening of that malevolence in 2021, despite the worldwide appearances that may indicate the opposite, may indicate this. This is going to be changing to this. It's happening now. And going through the 8-8 Lion's Gate, mate, is going to accelerate. I'm a poet and I didn't know it. It's going to accelerate that much more quickly. Endings and beginnings, a lot of endings coming for those very shadow, dark-like, and to the real max extreme of that energy is people turning the right way round, the right way up. The inversion, the global inversion falling away, won't fall away overnight, but it's going to accelerate through that gate, mate, this time, now, in this time. Quite extraordinary. And like I say, it's interesting because when you're paralleling, I'm going to call it paralleling, not only do you get this sense and awareness. I was working in a session the other day, and I work with a massive team of guides when I'm doing particular work, particularly on the multidimensional healing, because we're covering so many bases. I couldn't cover them all on my own. I'm a channel to help that, facilitate it. They work through me and with me. And I noticed when I was working the other day that there was more than one of me working. So I was working and I was watching myself working, doing something else, and I'm doing something else over here. And that's only happened since I started to parallel dimension. So it's handy because, you know, it's always handy having more than one of you to go round. And look at all my teachings over the years on here. They've all been about being more than one aspect of you. That you are a flower and you are every petal of that flower. And there are fractals, and so all kind of aligns and matches up with that. So the sky, well, really is, you know, the old saying goes, the sky's the limit, but really even that isn't the limit here. You know, it's just extraordinary as we are going through these processes now. As you access more and more, you are going to, as I've continued to insist all the way through the years on the YouTube channel, I've talked all the time about time travel, about stargates, about accessing this through your heart, about time not being what we've been programmed to believe. And of course all of this has come true, it's real. Not only that, but it's been known about for a long time and largely hidden from humanity again. But as humanity become more conscious, they are literally going to realize for themselves that they are like time lords, like Doctor Who, which even makes me laugh again, because years before I knew any of this, I was talking about Doctor Who on BBC Radio 1 and taking a Radio 1 DJ into the so-called future. And we were aligning it with being in the TARDIS and Doctor Who and time travel. Of course, everything he saw in that, which he thought was great fun, all came true a year later, because he really did access the future, because it's all happening now, past, present and future. When you've got your eye on that ball of what you think is the future, you just bring it into your consciousness more fully and realize it, let's say, more quickly, because you're consciously aware of it. It all comes down to how conscious you are. It's like if I plonked you in a car and you didn't know where the steering wheel was, you wouldn't know how to drive it or where to drive it or be able to drive it. We're all sitting in front of these steering wheels now, and we're learning. We're relearning and remembering how to drive the super conscious, really, beings that we are, really learning how to reroute and how to drive these vehicles that we are blessed to be part of. So an amazing time to go through this, an amazing time to be alive. You could say it's quite mind-blowing. I wouldn't let any of it distress or disturb you. I would just notice it with fascination. And of course, the more aware and conscious we are, the more differences we can make. All these synchronicities that we have, I went through a massive load of synchronicity, off the charts. I mean, don't forget, I've been working in this for years, so let's say what a big deal is to someone else, I'm quite blasé about, because I've just been used to it in my personal life and seeing stuff for years. But this was off the charts, and it was just total coding all the time. 111, 1122, 1122, 22, 1111. Just non-stop, down to everything. And I mean everything. Everything I did, everywhere I went, anywhere I stayed, it was all this numbering, and never stopped. You know, non-stop, crazy amount. And I thought, well, there's a reason for this. I haven't just, it does, and I thought the reason feels a bit off. Usually you associate those numbers with something more divine and awakening. And I thought something just feels a bit like off, like it's almost an inversion of those numbers. And it was an inversion of the numbers. The numbers were showing me the inversion, the global inversion, not just let's say a personal inversion in my life, because we're all immersed in the inversion reality, but the global inversion. And I thought, I know I'm going to get what this is and understand it, whether it takes me a few days, a few weeks. It took me about 2 weeks to get the whole picture, which is why I'm on here now, just in time for the 8-8 Lionsgate mate to accelerate. I'm going to keep saying that just to so I'm quite childish, and just to wind you up a bit. So yeah, incredible, isn't it? So that particular 1122 coding wasn't in its this form. It was in its this form. It was showing me experientially, which seems to be always the way for me, about the global inversion, and about this was about to happen, and that we are now accessing, if we wish, but it's happening quite spontaneously, parallel realities as well. Could you call them timelines? Yeah, you could call them timelines. It's a different way of explaining it. I'm not really looking at these as multiple timelines, although they are, you could call it timelines as well. They are all happening at the same time. So the one that you're more conscious of, the fibre optic on the fibre optic lamp that you're more conscious of, is the one that is lighting up like that lamp. Quite extraordinary. So as you move through this period of time again, especially through this next so many days, I mean, I think it's been building up. Well, it's certainly been building up, and that's what I've been picking up on. And the next few days, you have a chance to really have your eyes and your heart opened up wide, and you have a chance to really decide what fibre optic on your lamp, your light, your spirit, your soul, which fibre optic you are wishing to light up and illuminate. What changes do you want to make in in you? What changes do you want to make in your life, to your life quality, to the people that are in it? And put your heart and that childlike, joyful energy towards that, the energy of creation. And on that note, I will love you and leave you. As always, thanks for watching. Thank you for listening. Look after yourselves. And I'll see you on the other side of the gate, mate. Bye.